Gillette. Proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow.
This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're welcome along. It's Joe Molloy with you this evening. Well, quite possibly the greatest day of provincial football that we've ever seen. Now, I despise a media overstatement as much as the next fella, but honestly, I am not sure we can top yesterday. We've Mike Quirk, we've DB, David Brady, with us on the mad, wonderful joy of sport, because sometimes you're just allowed to be a romantic about these things. Yesterday was Valentine's Day on steroids. Less romantic were events at Twickenham. 8 o'clock, Brian O'Driscoll, Keith Wood on Monday Night Rugby. We have Dion Fanning and Brian Kerr on the football show. We've got Stephanie Meadow. She finished third on the LPGA Tour. We're going to check in with her. But honestly, on the same day, Cavan, 23 years, no joy in Ulster. Tipperary, waiting 85 years in Munster. Mad.
I am waiting, I am waiting, oh yeah.
Tip just trying to defend here and hold that ball at bay at the moment. Cork coming on the attack, long one kicked in and over the bar for Cork. That makes it 14 for Cork, 17 for Tip, 72-51. How long will we play?
Waiting for someone to come out of somewhere.
Cavan are the better side here.
They are, Damien, but they need to get a score or two more, so they do. They're just a point ahead at the moment, and they've had 3 wides in a row.
Waiting for someone to come out of somewhere. Waiting for someone to come
Cavan
out.
go along with a high dropping ball. Riley tries to get their patent claws out, but only as far as Madden, who buries it into the back of the net. It's a goal for Cavan. Cavan on the brink of ending a 23-year wait for the Anglo-Celt Cup. Can Cavan hold on now? I can barely hold on to me microphone here.
From a man to find out.
The referee blows a full-time whistle, and Cavan have ended a long, long race for an Ulster title. And Mickey Graham has led the boys in blue back to the promised land. Stephen King, you can rest easy now. Raven Gallagher is about to pick up the Anglo-Celt Cup.
Waiting for someone to come out of somewhere.
Rory Dean coming all the way in. Rory Dean still breaking through the middle here. It's Rory Dean lays off this ball. It's loose though, and it's got out the net. We've done it, Stephen. And now the Munster champions, 100 years on for Bloody Sunday. History has been made here. It is Tipperary who are the Munster football champions. The year of Michael Hogan, the year of history. This is Tipperary's hour. It's Tipperary's day. We have done it.
Waiting for someone to come.
Yeah, pretty amazing. BBC Northern Ireland there, Northern Sound and Tipperary FM. We have Richie McCormack with us as usual. Hello, sir.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
And for the tears, we have brought in Dave McIntyre. Hello.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are we on this glorious, glorious day?
I'd say it's sunny in your world. Oh my God, look at this. You have a commentator's microphone. That's just a nice touch.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to be in the best sound I possibly could for you guys.
Ah, beautiful. Okay, talk us through it. You've got Cavan links, strong Cavan links. I'm sure '97 was a feature of your nostalgic growing up period. So
yeah.
Talk to us about yesterday and how amazing it was, because it had drama. It had drama.
Oh, it really did. I think, I didn't give Cavan a chance, and none of my relations, of which there are many from Cavan, gave them a real chance. I think they were 14-1 outsiders with some of the bookmakers. And you just couldn't see it coming, particularly because they had played so badly for such long periods in their games up until now. In the first half against Monaghan, it was very difficult to understand what the game plan was. They looked very flat against Antrim and really had to grind that one out. And first 20, 25 minutes against Down, it almost appeared like they'd played a game already that day. They were so off the pace. They were struggling to cope with everything down through with them. And for them to be able to come through those 3 games on the back of successive relegations and then go into the game yesterday, spent 20 minutes of that game down to 14 men on the wrong side of what I shall politely call numerous questionable calls from the referee Barry Cassidy, including one mark for Garrod McKiernan, which somehow Barry Cassidy missed, and was probably the only person in the country watching the game that missed that mark. That could have been so crucial because it was a guaranteed score. The 2 black cards were very questionable as well. And to be the better side by a distance on the day, I felt, because they created goal opportunities as well. And when it was 15-on-15 for the 50 minutes of the game plus injury time, that it was 15-on-15, they were the better team. It's just the second title in 51 years, Joe. There's no way to overestimate what it means to Cavan people and people with Cavan connections all over the world. It's been a really rough time in Cavan. We know the difficulties that Cavan have had with COVID-19. There have been some really personal tragedies over the last couple of months as well that maybe don't make the news, but there are a lot of people really hurting in Cavan. And for them to be able to sit down in front of their screens yesterday and watch Mickey Graham's side perform the way they did against a Division 1 team that everyone outside of Cavan believed would win the game, it was something else. And having come through the preliminary round, something which only a handful of counties, you can count them on one hand, have managed to do in the history of the Ulster Championship. To do it in a 4-week period is incredible, really. And I stand to be corrected, but I would argue it's probably the greatest Ulster title that any team has ever won because of the manner in which they have had to do it. Down by 7, down by 3, down by 10, down by 3 yesterday, and down to 14 men for much of the game.
And there were points. I mean, there was a low shot dragged left and just wide. There was a save from the goalkeeper. Points where I thought they can't afford to miss these goal chances. They're going to come to rue this badly.
Yeah, I think I was on Twitter yesterday and I was recalling provincial finals of the last 20, 25 years in which the likes of Tipperary and Limerick should have won Munster titles in the early 90s with Declan Brown, and then Limerick in the early 2000s against Kerry. The game was there for them to win and they threw it away because they didn't take goal chances. I remember Fermanagh should have beaten Armagh in 2008, didn't take their chances. Monaghan 2 years later didn't take their chances. These sides, Louth in 2010, yeah, you could put it down to one referee's call, but Louth were comfortably the better team on the day. They should never have got down to that mistake for the referee against Meath in 2010. They simply didn't take their chances. I thought Tip were going to rue their chances yesterday, and you're right, when Cavan missed those goal opportunities yesterday, you just felt that despite the fact that Donegal were second best for the majority of the game, the sheer class and quality that we believed to be throughout their team eventually would tell. But it simply didn't, because they were a beaten docket. They were up against a side that seemed to have their number, and the tenacity and the terrier-like display that Cavan showed right from the very start, because they're a second-half team until yesterday.
Yeah.
It was something Donegal simply couldn't cope with. It was incredible to watch.
So the last 23 years I've been a Cavan fan. Just sum that up, the gist of it, because I can't remember a year in, year out. Was it just generally lowlights?
Well, by and large, but I mean, if you go from the year I was born in 1979 to 1997 when they won the Ulster title, that was equally bleak. They didn't play in Croke Park in the championship from 1969 until 1997. They had one league game that I remember being out with my father when they played Dublin in a league game in 1993. They were beaten by Kerry in 97, and after that they got to an Ulster final in 2001, and it was very bleak in the senior ranks from then on. They didn't actually reach a final until last year. In fact, every other county, including Fermanagh and Antrim in Ulster, reached the Ulster final in the time that Cavan failed to do it. So to get to back-to-back finals this time around is the first time they've done it since 1969. Underage level, yeah, there was an awful lot to be hopeful about. They won their first minor title in over 50 years in 2011. They backed that up with 4 under-21 provincial championships in a row from 2011 to 2014. Yeah. And there was a lot of the players in the team yesterday that would have won medals there. But these guys are all in their late 20s now. It did appear like they'd completely failed to build on what they'd achieved at minor and under-21 level. But now Mickey Graham seems to have worked his magic dust. And if you consider what he did with Mullinachta, I do remember when they beat Crokes in the Leinster final, and we knew he had taken the Cavan job at that stage, saying to my father, winning an Ulster title should be far easier to do than what he has managed to do with Mullinachta, given the stakes they were up against at the time.
Oh, I can imagine the long conversations around the McIntyre table where you're making these points to your father and he's saying, stop talking to me, just shut up, it doesn't matter, go away. Meanwhile, Tipperary, I mean, okay, so that felt like you could make far more of a case yesterday in advance of the 2 games for Tipperary than Cavan, but still, they are underdogs, but they built on the pedigree of the last decade, the minor All-Ireland win, the All-Ireland final of 2015 at under-21 level. They reached a semi-final senior level 16. But, you know, it's like we cover so much sport and there is often a fairly corporate, hollow centre to lots of it. But so you're watching them yesterday in the colours of Grange Mockler. And even though I'm, you know, the 40 millionth person to repeat the fact that we have the 4 provincial winners of 1920. There is something mad about that. Like, it's insane. It's just so insane the more you think about it. What would you have looked for at the start of the year odds-wise? 1,000 to 1 minimum. You know, if any bookie, you'd say, if you're not giving me 1,000 to 1, I'm not even putting down a euro here on this. And so, you know, just and the celebrations on the field, the whole thing was just beautiful. I mean, there's loads of people texting in, like Sean and Meath, ironically Meath of all places, saying, I hope this is the end of people calling for the provincial championships to be scrapped. What does yesterday mean? Does it mean that provincials should be knockout, Richie? Does it mean it's just a one-off and we still need to go tier 2? But, well, certainly we can say it. The Leinster Championship is dead. Like RIP, it's not dying, it's not in decline, it's dead, it's over.
Yeah, it's the Connacht Hurling Championship of football. It's like there's essentially no point to it. And Dublin, you'd imagine, would be airlifted out of it, and everyone else would be left scrapping for whatever's left. But like that's the glaring sore from the weekend is the Leinster Championship. And I was talking before that game on Saturday to a friend of mine, and just saying I just want Meads to be competitive. Just want to get to the last 20 minutes and for there to still be a conversation about the game, not getting to half time and turning it off because fait accompli. And that's what it was. It was a turkey shoot. But we're going down through that 90s Leinster roster of like decent Offaly sides, really good Kildare sides, you know, the coming of Laois and Westmeath in the early 2000s, and all that's gone. And John Conlon's piece overnight really nailed it in that Dublin have made the most of their advantages, and absolutely fair play to them because of that. But nobody else has the same advantages, and it was up to the GAA to kind of make sure that nobody was really left behind in the dust the way they have been. And there's no, like, you would struggle to see how any side in Leinster will pull within parity of Dublin within the next 10 years. It's beyond belief that it could happen. Like, maybe we're sitting here and we're absolutely wrong, and we have a version of Tipperary winning Leinster, the version of Cavan winning Leinster in a few years' time, but like, it'd be difficult to see it. Like, you're talking about the odds of repeating the 1920 semi-finalists. They'd be similar to try and think of another Leinster champion outside of Dublin in the next decade. And that's what will always keep pulling us back to that tier 2 championship thing. And unfortunately, if the GAA are to maintain previous structures of the GAA championship and to, you know, dispense with the back door as they have done this year, then we're going to keep having this conversation whereby the romance of it is going to be slowly drained out of it, and that's not a good thing.
Dave, what do you think this weekend means for the provincial championships?
I really don't think we're going to be able to get through this in the news round, Joe. This is a 2-day-long conference almost that needs to be put on for this. Look, I would be wary of knee-jerk reactions. Tipperary's won yesterday is the second time in 85 years that a side other than Cork or Kerry has won the Munster title. So let's not kid ourselves into thinking that the Munster Championship is competitive, because it's really not. Connacht and Ulster have always been competitive, and they probably always would be the same. In terms of the Leinster Championship, yes, it's dead and buried and has been deep 6 feet under for a long time. But there are times that I feel Dublin's dominance has been used as a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card for the likes of Kildare and Laois and Meath, because they have been absolutely awful in the Leinster Championship for many years. And it's not like they're reaching All-Ireland quarterfinals, Super 8 series, All-Ireland semi-finals via the back door, which has been available to them, while Dublin have been dominating at the provincial level. So I do think that it's easy for us to point at Dublin. And yes, they have everything going their way. And John Connellan's letter really has to be read with an open mind, because it's very difficult to disagree with anything that he wrote in it. But Kildare and Meath in particular, given their populations in comparison to other counties like Cavan, like Monaghan, like Donegal, for example, who have achieved much greater things than they have, they do need to look at their own structures. And the reason why, not that Dublin should not be the yardstick for Kildare and Meath. The rest of the counties that are routinely making the fourth round of the qualifiers, the All-Ireland quarterfinals, they are the yardstick. They're not in Division 1 either. There's no other Leinster team in Division 1 for the 2021 season from Leinster. So that's a big issue as well. But to say that the provincial championships are thriving outside of Leinster, I think is a stretch.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away from what Cavan and Tipperary achieved yesterday, but recency bias is very strong when it comes to these debates, and there is far more nuance when it comes to how we might look upon the provincial championships going forward.
Yes, I think that's a very well-made point. Tom says, I seem to remember off the ball gung-ho pushing for a 2-tier championship. Days like yesterday would never happen. I suppose, Tom, we have to balance up how often will they happen. Yes, they will happen once in every 85 years. It's more, as Dave says, what are we getting a year in, year out?
Well, the rules, I feel a lot of people were saying, the fact that Tipperary and Cavan in a Tier 2 championship, it wouldn't happen. But they would, if you were to just plant this year's championship into next year's championship under the rules that we expect to be in place, Cavan and Tipperary would end up in the back door because they had reached the provincial final. So Division 3 sides will still get a crack at an extra knockout game if they get to the provincial championship final. So that point should be made. But you know, it goes back to the same debate that people have been having all over Twitter. God bless the knockout championship. It's football at its purest. It's the only way to play the championship. Let's not forget 20 years ago, the backdoor system was brought in for a very good reason.
Yeah.
And we can't completely discount the arguments that were made in favour of the qualifiers, which are no means perfect, but they were brought in for very good reasons.
No, I agree with that. But God damn it, I mean, can we do knockout once every 10 years? Could we can we just do it once a decade?
There's a magic to it and an edge to it that any backdoor second chance system will never be able to rival.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fair on the modern day inter-county hurler and footballer to be expected to train for 9 or 10 months for 70 minutes.
Matthew McConnell watching on YouTube, where you'll also get us every evening. As fantastic as Cavan's win was, what about Donegal? 3 years in a row, they have absolutely bottled getting into a semi-final. I'm starting to feel this Donegal team doesn't have an All-Ireland in them. Aidan on YouTube, nothing wrong with the provincial championships. The issue is that Dublin is a province within itself. I know, Aidan, but by extension, that means there is a problem with the Leinster Championship. And what's with Cavan always getting so far behind? Are they always going into games with wrong tactics? Darren and Offaly. I can't decide, is Dave jumping on the bandwagon here? No, he's not, as from Mark. I know, long-suffering Cavan man. He also wants to know who your kids support. Surely Dublin. Surely you're not letting them near a Cavan jersey.
We had a very special moment yesterday in that my eldest, he's 6 years old, and he was beside me. My wife and my youngest were out in the shops. He was sitting beside me playing a game on the iPad. And I begged him as we got towards the hour mark to put the iPad down and watch the last 10 minutes with me. And in fairness to him, he did. And he was there with me screaming at the TV. And then we were on the phone immediately to my father and to my uncles and my brother, who's in the Lebanon as well with the armed forces. It just absolutely magnificent. It brings us back to 97 when we were all in Clonus and Jason Riley in the shirt over the head and Joe Brawley's dairy been done in the last couple of minutes. Unbelievable memories. Like if you want to put it in context, Tipperary, that's their first title in 85 years. It's enormous. Not far behind is the fact that it's Cavan's second in 51 years.
Well, look, if it gets 3 generations of Irish males on the phone together, then it's a true miracle. So, Richie, where are we going? We're going to start the news round. It is with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. From all the joy, from all the romance, from the history, the unforgettable scenes yesterday, you're going to the 5:30 p.m. Monday Night Football game to kick off the news round.
You're damn right I am, Joe. Burnley are about to pick up their first win of the season. They lead Crystal Palace in stoppage time by a Chris Wood goal to nil. About below full time in that one. It would bring Burnley out of the bottom 3. No Wilfred Zaha for Palace this evening. The club revealed before kick-off that he tested positive for COVID-19. At 8, Southampton can go third with a win away to Wolves. Munster can move 10 points clear at the top of the Guinness Pro 14's Conference B tonight. Billy Holland captains the side away to Glasgow from 8:15. Jack O'Sullivan, Ben Healy and Calvin Nash all return to that starting 15 for the game at Scottstown. It's rainy there, by the way. The FAI say they are satisfied with the explanation provided by Stephen Kenny around the controversial video shown to players prior to the recent friendly defeat against England. A supposed motivational video caused controversy when a member of the camp revealed to the Daily Mail that it was political and anti-English. Following an investigation, the association has now said that the matter is closed after accepting Stephen Kenny's explanation. Thank God.
Reading the Sunday papers yesterday, it seems it was the speech more so than the video, which was described as relatively tame, that caused offence with some, however many, I don't fully know. Dave, your general take on Videogate/Speechgate?
It's a sorry episode that really, it's just all so unnecessary, and I really wish for Raven of all that it had never happened. I'm glad that it doesn't appear there will be any consequences from it from Stephen Kenny and his backroom team's point of view, but I'm not 100% sure the FA are in a position to say that there's now no longer anything to see here and that we've drawn a line under it, because I don't think they have identified the leak, and I don't think it's possible for a management team that are already under a lot of pressure to be able to continue forward with the utmost confidence in the knowledge that there was somebody within their party that felt it appropriate to go to an English newspaper and tell tales of what had gone on within what should be the inner sanctum of the senior national team.
Morris Setters then, Richie.
Yeah, sad news today. The former Republic of Ireland assistant manager has died at the age of 83. His passing comes just over 4 months after that of his boss of 19 years, Jack Charlton. Setters was part of the Manchester United side that won the FA Cup in 1963, alongside our own John Giles, Tony Dunn and Noel Cantwell, of course. And Setters assisted Charlton during his decade-long spell in charge of the Ireland side. And before that as well, the likes of Sheffield Wednesday and Newcastle. Tipperary hero Conor Sweeney says they have a huge task in their hands if they want to reach a first All-Ireland football final in a century. Sweeney scored 7 points for the Premier yesterday as they bridged that 85-year wait for the Munster football title with a victory over Cork. They'll face Mayo in the All-Ireland semis, while Cavan will take on Dublin following their shock win over Donegal in the Ulster decider. Tip forward Sweeney says they will enjoy their triumph before turning their attention to Mayo.
Look, if nothing else, it keeps us training for another 2 weeks. Keeps the mind and the body occupied when everyone else is at home, so it's great. Listen, I think whoever, it's Mayo next up, they're going to be a very difficult team to even compete with. But listen, that's for another day. I think we'll enjoy tonight and then look forward maybe during the week to what's ahead of us.
Yeah, he's very impressive. Spoke really well after the game, I thought. England are going to allow fans into stadiums very soon.
Yeah, up to 4,000 fans will be allowed to attend outdoor sporting events in England from next week. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has confirmed that an easing of restrictions for when they exit lockdown, a maximum of 4,000 will be allowed to attend in low-risk areas, 2,000 in areas of medium risk, but sports will remain behind closed doors in high-risk Tier 3 areas.
That's not so bad. At least it's just a pinch of an atmosphere. I flicked over during a bit of Liverpool-Leicester last night, Dave, to the option with no crowd noise, just to remind myself of the reality in the stadium, and it's so grim. I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, I've experienced it myself over the last few weeks. I've finally been able to get back to games in the commentary position, and it's eerie, and it's really not the same. And as you say, look, anything that might generate a genuine atmosphere and not something that's been piped in, it's a step in the right direction. Once everyone's happy that it's safe and the right protocols are in place, the sooner we start getting guys and girls through the turnstiles, the better.
Andrew in Cork says, can you ask Richie in the Newsround to confirm the rumours that one Cavan man was so excited after yesterday's win that he actually broke a tenner in his local gala shop?
The one I saw doing the rounds today as well was there's a Cavan man was so delighted with Cavan's first win in the Ulster Championship since 1997 that he went and bought a round for everybody, and there's a picture of a pint with about 80,000 straws sticking out of it. So that's the one that's also doing the rounds. I'm sure Dave would like right to reply here.
No, hang on. So it is Cavan above all counties, because you can make your cheap joke about anyone. People just go, well, he's a insert county here man for cheapness. But Cavan are the quintessential table toppers for the cheapness, aren't they, Dave?
I'm surprised that a show of the standing of off the ball has resorted to such lazy stereotypes.
But that is the stereotype, though, isn't it, with Cavan?
Yeah, but you're perpetuating it by even bringing it up and reading those text messages. It's a disgrace, and I have to admit, I'm personally offended on behalf of all those who have Breffni blood in them.
Oh, dear. What a day for Tipperary and Cavan. I mean, such a pity, obviously, fans weren't there, but kind of amazing scenes. So, well, Dave, you've won a trip to Croke Park to play Dublin on the 5th of December. So best of luck with that.
It'll be incredible. Needless to say, I was onto our Sky Sports producer within 5 minutes of the full-time whistle asking, could I be assigned that particular semi-final? And let's also acknowledge the Cavan Camogie team as well, Joe. They're only back playing inter-county Camogie yesterday, and they booked a place in their own All-Ireland Camogie final as well against Armagh, and I think it's the Premier Junior grade as well. So congratulations to them. A huge day for Cavan GAA overall.
Let me put it to you this way. How many points will Dublin win the All-Ireland final by, in your opinion?
Well, they have, if they get to the final.
Yeah.
If they get to the final, it depends who their opposition is, Joe.
Okay. Well, you have two options, Mayo or Tip. What would you say? I just get the feeling this is a Tyrone from a couple of years ago type situation. I think it's too early for Mayo.
I don't know. I do think that Tipperary will really fancy their chances of rattling Mayo's cage. They went reasonably close to them in 2016, but that's one of the great Mayo sides, and their experience was very obvious, particularly in the final quarter of that game. This is not as an experienced Mayo team, and it's a Tipperary team that have absolutely nothing to lose now. The same will be for Cavan, but look, Cavan won't be kidding themselves as to the enormity, the task that faces them. It's almost a hopeless situation if you look at it in the clear light of day. But the second semi-final, I would imagine, will be more competitive, and There's no reason why a Division 3 side in Tipperary against a Division 2 side, these are 2021 numbers now, shouldn't feel that they have more than a puncher's chance in front of no crowd and a really wide open pitch with some of the pace and the skill that they have. I'm not saying they're going to beat Mayo. Mayo have some fabulous footballers, but it could be a game that will be an awful lot closer than many might predict.
No, that's fair. And look, if yesterday taught us anything. So listen, Richie McCormack, as ever, thank you.
Cheers, lads.
Dave McIntyre, we'll let you go. Thanks a million for that. Good man.
Thanks, gents. Enjoyed it.
Cheers. So after 8 o'clock, we have Brian O'Driscoll and Keith Wood. But up next, we're talking about the day yesterday that was in Gaelic football. We have Mike Quirk and David Brady. They're on the way in just a moment.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow.
At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the